Hello, legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast, episode 341. Apologies for any noises, but I'm trying to eliminate every possible source as I go. So I already recorded a blooper because the moment I started the video, the car turned the radio on and it went full volume on, so yeah, I had to cut it, and someday I will likely create a compilation of those bloopers because I already collected a couple of them, so it will be interesting thing. We already had fun laughing with Julian when I showed him different bloopers when I was recording and something happened, or I did some weird blubber or whatever. Anyway, this is episode 341. For those of you that are new to the podcast, this means that this project is ongoing for 341 days straight. Every single day there is a blog post, and every single day there is a podcast like this one. Initially it was only audio, but it's also video now, and this particular video update or episode is number 119, which means basically 119 days ago I started recording video versions of this podcast. Today was quite scary, I must say, and why I will explain in a second. First of all, I am still unshaved, as my yesterday's post was titled "Still Unshaved." I'm still unshaved, so I didn't manage to get time today to get all that Yeti type of hairy face off, but I promise I will this weekend. I almost did it today, but as I expected, Friday was really busy. But like productively busy, if that is even possible to connect those two words, because busy is kind of a little bit of contradictory to being productive. But yes, I was very efficient today. I was under pressure. There's a lot of things going on, and I was fortunate to manage and do a lot this Friday despite a couple of meetings. But let's put work aside because it's not important. I was hoping to not only get shaved, but also to prep the dinner and go for a little walk and maybe checked on mushrooms. But something kind of unexpected and a bit scary happened as I was around finishing the work day. Just after 4 p.m. My wife and my son Julian, they came back from their kind of usual walk. So they drove to the beach. They had about 5 kilometers walk, and they came back. And there's nothing unusual about it. Both Julian and Elizabeth are used to that distance. It's nothing strainful or straining for them. There was nothing special about today. But as they came back, Julian said with a desperate voice to me that he's feeling really bad and weak. And I immediately felt kind of scared because, you know, if you're a parent you probably understand straight away. There's something special about when we feel unwell as adults, and or our spouses are feeling unwell. Of course, it is a bit scary, but it's not as much scary as when the child gets sick or gets symptoms that you cannot explain by simply, saying it's a infection like a virus or bacteria, usual cold or whatever it is. And what happened today was quite unusual because Julian is generally a fairly healthy boy. We know when the virus infection hits or anything like that, those seasonal things like flu, his immune system is well maintained, I would say, and can handle those infections fairly well and fast. It's usually about 2-3 days and Julian is almost fully recovered. But today was slightly different. He started curling in a fetal position and really tensing his muscles and shaking. And that was something that really scared me, because not only there was never a single event like that in our life in terms of Julian's health, but also there was no other symptoms. So if you have a shaking body, it usually goes in pair with, let's say, temperature rise of the body, maybe some eye movement, fainting, maybe something else like getting really pale or some rash happening. They're always accompanying, well, not always, but I'm not a medical professional, so don't take my opinion as something to depend on. But as far as I know, and as far as I read a lot of things and experienced in my life, these things usually happen in combination. And in his case, he was fully aware. Fortunately, nothing else happened, so there was no temperature rise. I checked his temperature. There was no pain associated with it. There was no, well, he initially said that there was no pain, but he understood pain as something really kind of spiky or pinching or very sharp, while what he experienced was a very dull and kind of, compressed type of feeling. So, and that he wasn't considering that as a pain until I explained to him that, yeah, this is sort of pain as well. So he was able to confirm that. So it was like a very dull and background cramp, but was very unbearable for him, and he was tensing everything, and because of that he was shaking, it turns out. But we didn't know at the time. I had suspicions, but it was ongoing for quite a while, and I felt unease because, sometimes you can wait things out. But in a situation like that, especially with a child, I decided to not wait and call an ambulance. And two things happened. First, obviously, I never ever called ambulance in my life so far. So that was a first. Why I don't do it is because I never thought that I'm in a state or situation where I really need an emergency and medics. Second, even if I felt quite bad, it might be stupid, but I know how much constraint the health system has in any country, and especially in Ireland. And there's a lack of professionals that can serve the amount of patients. So yeah, I didn't want to overload the system by just calling an ambulance that might be needed to somebody that is actually seriously sick and will have to wait for me to release it. So not really overload the system, but potentially cause other person to wait or not be attended to. And that's a little bit stupid, Of course we should have that awareness, but that excuse very often leads to people actually dying because they had a heart attack and they said like, oh, listen, it's not that bad, I can wait it out, so I won't be calling an ambulance. And yeah, that's the last thing they do. So yes, so I called the ambulance, and we were served pretty well over the phone. We were advised what to do, we were asked questions, and in the meantime they were organizing ambulance to come. There was no ambulance in the area, so they had to dispatch ambulance from Letterkenny, which is about 55 minutes drive from Donegal town. So that was a long drive for National Medical Service. And I really appreciate the guys. They were so professional. They arrived fairly fast. They attended to Julian first they attended to me and asked me a lot of questions about the situation, the symptoms, whatever they could learn. And then Julian was able to come down and they checked him out downstairs with full engagement, talking to him, making sure he feels comfortable. Did a lot of checks, plenty of checks that I wouldn't even expect from Irish kind of GP. And not Irish, I mean national Irish as a person, but in Ireland the GPs are very, I would say, shallow in terms of the assessment and diagnosis. So far I attended many GPs, and it was always like that. Apologies if there are, because there are probably great GPs out there that do the thorough examination, but I wasn't lucky to meet one so far. So, but these guys were like, you could feel that they were here to help. They were in that ambulance because that was their calling. They do that because they want to help people. And it was such a pleasant experience that I'll probably mention that many times more in my life, and I will be praising them a lot, because not only they helped to ease us and Julian about the situation, but they show that really, like, the people out there in medical sphere that are not only doctors that might be just working because they are paid to it and they feel like they are bigger than any patient, but these are actually medical professionals without MD in front of them or anything like that actually know a lot of things straight away, and they can help. Fortunately, all of the checks turned out fine. They had a couple of suspicions because they saw a little bit of the beginning of maybe infection. So there might have been a couple of vectors that combined together at the same time and caused kind of unusual reaction. But it happens in different cases, so they gave us options. at the end, they invited us to go with Julian in an ambulance and attend A&E, which is accident emergency. So the hospital would check his blood and everything. Beside, they checked the blood sugar and other stuff as well, but obviously they couldn't take blood and they don't have the lab to check the other things. But after all those checkups, they said, listen, you can go with us to the hospital and do the full kind of checkup, or you can go to your GP or kind of general practitioner, your doctor, and schedule the appointment, take the blood, do the test at the comfort of Donegal town or your kind of own schedule. Or you can just observe him, and when something worrying occurs, then you can call us again, or there's another service called Now Doc in our area and in general in Ireland, where there are other ambulances and doctors that can support locals and get them to the hospital if needed. So after a long chat and considering the advisory of theirs, and they were not pushy at all towards any options, they said, listen, everything is available to you, whatever you choose, we'll do it. Even though they know that there's constraint and there are waiting times in the hospital, they made us aware that you might wait a little, but if you decide to, it's more than respected, and you should definitely go if you feel like that. So we decided to stay home. Julian confirmed that he's feeling well. He started actually feeling better kind of in the middle of that waiting for the medics to arrive. So when the ambulance came in, he was already almost recovered and didn't feel any cramps or anything like that. He was fairly good. And it seems like it was just a single occurrence, but we will be observing him. And yeah, that was the highlight of the day. So I slept a short night. Yes, I screwed up my night's sleep. Then I had a very busy day at work, and then this happened. So I'm almost half asleep walking, and I decided to go now. It's 19:57, so it's 8 p.m. So I have 40 minutes until sunset. So what I'll do, I arrived at Eni, my famous forest that I found, going to check if something new grew on the slopes of the river and in the woodland, and see if maybe some new species started appearing, because the time is coming to autumn kind of phase. So there are other species that are only appearing in autumn, so I might see them. In the meantime, I want to also relax and enjoy a little bit of clear head by walking in the woods, because I really need that after this day. So that's it for today. I hope you have a better day than me, at least in terms of stress levels and worrying. And make sure that you stay safe. Do not hesitate to react to some things that are worrying you when you feel it is the right thing to do. Don't over panic or anything like that, but there are times where you need to push away your worries about calling even an ambulance and just do it, because it might be your last decision if you don't call them. So my message is, respect the health system, respect the health professionals, and respect your own health. And when you feel like you need them, call them. For now, this is it. 20 minutes in. Thank you very much for listening, and see you in tomorrow's episode.